Awesome. Okay, you guys, welcome everybody. Thanks for joining us again in our weekly live stream. I am back with Ned and Kelly Vandiver, and today I'm really excited to talk about this topic because there's a huge misconception in the coaching space and in relationship transformation around the difference between information and transformation. So Ned and Kelly, if you haven't listened to our live streams before, they are relationship coaches and life healers, and they work alongside me inside the Couples Cure. And what we do together is we support healthy, authentic marriages. So we will tackle a topic each week and dive into it a little bit deeper, mostly targeting things that are the most common barriers that we see in relationship transformation. So today we're talking about, the topic is information versus transformation, and how anything is possible in your marriage as long as you have the right mindset, the right support, and the right system. And the reason why this topic is so relevant is that we have found, and I'll be talking to you guys more about your own experiences with this, but people get frustrated on this journey of relationship work or marriage marriage improvement if they're stuck or if they're in crisis, because there's this confusion between knowing what to do versus actually creating the transformation that you desire.
Right.
And so much of this internet age and the information age is that we think that if we have the right information that should do the trick, right? And what we don't always know is what proper help looks like and what lasting change actually requires in addition to information.
Right.
And that's important because people will get unnecessarily discouraged, right? Like they have the information and then it doesn't work, and then they think, oh, well, this isn't going to work, then I guess our relationship isn't meant to be. And that's not necessarily the case at all.
Right.
So today we're going to talk about what is information only versus information that's part of transformation, what that looks like in and of itself as information only, right? What's missing with that? Why too much of that without the mindset work or the belief change work will fail, and what transformation truly requires, what that proper help looks like so that you can take the information that you've already gathered. And if you're listening to this now, you're probably someone who already has tools or information, or maybe you've already read some blogs, or you've listened to my webinar, or you've Googled relationship tools and things like that. We want to be able to help you take that information and implement it so that you can actually have the deep and lasting transformation that you're looking for, not just like a quick fix here and there, right?
Right.
So ultimately, the whole point is to have a marriage that you feel really proud of and that you're excited about. So first, let's just talk about what is the problem with too much information and not enough transformation. And I want to hear what you guys have to say about this, but just real quick, when I think of information only, because I created a course that was just information only, that was supposed to be just self-study. That's how I originally formulated the Couples Cure. Once people have the information, then they can just go do it, right? But how many people actually really do that, right? Yeah. So the information alone is information without structure. It's information without a plan. It might be tools and theories and great stuff, like meat, right? But then without the right context or the right support or the right order to do it in, then it's more like you're just kind of stabbing in the dark and hoping for the best.
Right.
So information only misses several components. It misses the mindset work. It misses the importance of changing your limiting beliefs. It misses the mentorship part, the support, the community support, and how to apply what you're learning and the information to your unique situation, because it's not, cookie cutter doesn't work for everybody.
Nope.
What do you guys think about that? I mean, what do you think is, the roadblock or the barrier that most people face with thinking that information is enough? And what have you found in your experience?
Yeah. Well, what we find all the time is that clients that we work with, until they understand, and it takes a while for people to get, well, first of all, the frustration that people have by the time they come to us and we're on the phone with them or we're working with them. So I want to tackle it from that point. Problem is, most people, when they're having marriage problems, they're going to the marriage counselor's office or the therapist's office. And what happens in traditional marriage counseling and talk therapy is you're going and you're just rehashing problems over and over and over and over again. Mm-hmm. And it's not effective. It's actually just not what you do to get the results that you're wanting, which is, more closeness and connection and openness and working towards healing. And the only way you're going to be able to do that is if you have the proper tools and if you have the proper help and you're asking the proper questions and you learn the science behind how your brain and your mind works, because that's really what holds everyone back in all areas of their life. And so when people are coming to us, they're not getting any tools. They're not getting any good advice. Like, it's bad. So by the time they get to us, it's like they've gotten all this information. They've been talking about their problems forever, and they're just ready to call it quits because
they feel like they've tried everything and it didn't work.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Totally. Yeah, I see that too. I think a big part of the therapy model, is that it's diagnostic. It's focusing on the problems and analyzing the problems and the symptoms, and that doesn't really get to the root, and it doesn't really hold the vision for where you want to go, and so it keeps you stuck.
Yeah, and a lot of people actually. I was on the phone with someone yesterday, and they talked about doing therapy with their husband, and they'd gone to a total of 12 sessions together. And she said after each session, and even during the sessions, they were arguing the entire time. And then when they left, they were arguing even more by the time they got home. And she said it would take them at least 3 to 4 days to, come off of that mode of, just going at one another. Yeah.
I had a conversation like that too, just the other day with somebody who was saying it made it worse almost because we'd leave the session and all the stuff was opened up. 15 minutes have passed. Now it's time to go home and nothing's been resolved. And they were just sent home to argue the whole way home.
And she even said, and they didn't send us home to do any work. Nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing to note, nothing, not write a letter, nothing, just, all right. And I said, well, did they, did you talk about anything? Did anyone say anything to you or your partner about, their behavior or how they could change it or what they may be doing wrong or something like that? And she's like, no, you just talk about the past. And that's pretty much it.
Yeah. Right. I get that.
Doesn't help at all.
And the thing is that and it's not like they never give you anything. Like, I just talked to somebody last week that was saying she got a lot of tools from the therapist. Like, here's what you can try. Here's how to say it. Here's an exercise. But that in and of itself wasn't enough either, because there wasn't enough support in between the sessions when stuff didn't go well. You need to find out, I need to course correct here, otherwise it's going to get bad. But now we have to wait 5 days until the next session. So,
and I always say this, and I'm pretty sure I coined this phrase myself, so I'm very proud of it. But I always say that transformation can never take place until the truth is inserted into the equation. And so joining through the truth is something that we do with our clients, because if people don't know how they're shooting themselves in the foot, if people don't know what they're doing wrong, they can't change it, And there are so many people who are just completely out of line and don't even, they think that they don't have any problems. They think that they're great.
Yeah. And if they could just take this information and use it, they'd be fine. But there's blind spots that information you can't see your blind spots with information alone.
Right. Exactly.
Right.
Yeah, that's such a good point. And I find also just that, what's missing aside from mentorship is the community with other people who are going through the same thing, which is also very traditional or untraditional. I mean, it's very traditional to say we're going to do this in isolation with confidentiality and nobody knows we're having these problems.
Right.
What's really helpful is actually speaking what's really going on in an environment, a community of support with other people who are going through the same journey.
Exactly.
That's so important too, because then you're hearing how that information and the tools that people are learning, how does that get applied when this problem crops up, or when this problem crops up, or when this unique situation presents itself? How do you adjust that? And you learn so much from that.
Yeah.
And you don't do that with the traditional approach either.
Yeah. And I mean, and you're right. You make a really good point, because there's so many people, like we oftentimes talk about at the end of the call. A lot of people don't want to know, people to know that they have problems in their marriage.
Yeah.
And that isolation alone is a lot of pressure on a person.
Yeah.
Trying to deal with this stuff by yourself.
Right.
You know, it just
in the Facebook.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And they're so embarrassed, and I'm just like, you have to get over that part of it and really seek out the help that you need, and understand that you can't do a lot of this stuff by yourself, and certain within the dynamics of the marriage, when you're having cerof problems, you don't have the answers all the time.
Right.
So
absolutely.
you have to.
And there's no shame in that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You have to learn how to, kind of really get your ego out of the way and see and start seeking out the help that you actually need and get the answers.
Everybody's got problems. You know? And like Ned always says, it's like there really is no such thing as marital issues. There's not. There's only such thing as two people with their own issues that they bring into the relationship.
Yeah.
They themselves have not handled yet. You know what I mean?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I've never met a really happily married couple that didn't go through some things.
Exactly.
You get that by learning how to manage conflict successfully, how to communicate your authentic truth, set boundaries, how to fight, how to fall out of harmony and get back into repair again. All these things have to be learned at some point. And any couple, even if they haven't had help, any couple that's been together 25, 30 years and they're like, you know what, we're good. We're in a good place. They'll tell you they ran into some troubles along the way. Mm-hmm. There's no such thing as a good marriage that didn't have problems. So that's why I feel like the stigma we have to let go of that.
Yeah, we do.
That has to disappear.
Yeah, it's really important.
Totally.
That's a really big part of transformation, is just being able to admit you have a problem. But I wanted to ask you guys, what do you see as what is the pitfall of people mistaking information with transformation? Where do you see that showing up? And then I'll save my next question for next section.
Well, the way that it shows up most frequently is that, by the time we talk to people, most of them have been to numerous counselors, marriage counseling, church counseling, therapy, together, therapy separate, and it's just this repetitive marriage counseling, all the time, for years, and never getting results.
Right. I know. I have a friend that was in marriage counseling for 10 years, and then they divorced. Yeah. Isn't that so sad? 10 years.
I mean,
and then they didn't even work.
Yeah.
I've been through it. In my last marriage, Ned and I haven't ever, we've always been each other's counselors and always worked through stuff together because we do this work. But in my previous life, in my previous marriage, I took my ex-husband to probably 6, 7, 8 different therapists, and this happens so often. And it was so obvious that he had some major issues around being abusive, emotionally, physically, and all those things. And nobody ever called him out. Nobody ever called him out. So what we hear from women a lot, especially women, is that they just don't feel supported. They don't feel like anyone's on their side. They feel kind of beaten up on by the end of it a lot.
Right. And so information isn't going to help them.
No.
Yeah, but what you're talking about, I think Kelly speaks so much to this idea that we have to remain neutral and not really say, hey, this is what I'm seeing, and call that out. That's coaching versus that neutral idea of couples counseling, and that I find to be so much more effective. Getting back to the years of therapy, you know, in a marriage that's struggling, you can turn around your marriage in 6 months or less with the right amount of support. If you're doing things in a systematic way and you're not just compartmentalizing it until the next session.
Right.
You know, if it's something that you're living every day and you're not just taking the information, but you're actually working that and using that information and putting it into daily practice, that's the difference between information and transformation.
Yeah.
You have to apply the information systematically, repetitively, and frequently in order to get true transformation.
And I said this the other day when Ned and I were talking. I was like, man, this work, it's minute to minute, it's hour to hour, it's day by day. Like, you got to be so aware of where you're at up here, because this is the thing that is the kiss of death.
Yeah.
To all people and to all marriages. If you don't learn how to control this and you don't learn how to master this, you will never get the results you want. So you have to find the help, the proper help, someone who can teach you how to master this. So you know how it works and you know what not to do anymore. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And I want to get into that. Like, what does that look like? What does the right help look like? What does transformation really require? But before we get into that, I just want to piggyback on what you just said and this idea that, you know, it's really what's going on inside of us that usually takes us out, right? But the danger of only working with information and thinking that that's enough is that people end up beating themselves up because they think they're holding themselves to this idea that, like, I should have been able to take these blog articles and apply them to my relationship. Right. And then when the inner stuff comes in and takes them down, then they're like thinking, oh my God, what's my problem? Why can't I do this? And it's just this terrible cycle of feeling like people's self-esteem gets affected, their hopelessness goes up. And then once your hopelessness goes up, then you're not even trying anymore. And then your dynamics go into the toilet, basically, because you're not able to hold that vision because of that horrible cycle. So I just wanted to highlight that.
Yeah.
People don't have to feel that bad. Don't beat yourself up if the information that you have hasn't worked yet. It doesn't mean that there's something wrong with you. It just means that you probably haven't had the right support and not really knowing what transformation really requires. So let's talk about that.
Yeah.
What is it going to take besides information in your experience and inside our program? What have we seen first?
A huge part of it is really the mindset work that goes into understanding. You really have to understand that how you think and what you think about on a daily basis affects your outlook. Yeah, it affects how you communicate with your spouse, or whoever it is. But more importantly, whoever it is you're in relationship with. It really affects how that dynamic works. So many times we talk about people, they're wondering why they're stuck in patterns.
Yeah.
And they can't get out of these patterns. And, so my question to them oftentimes is, okay, so what is it that you think about often, times when, that this is happening a lot. So why do you think that's the case? Well, I think about it night and day. I go to sleep with this, I'm tossing and turning and I'm waking up in the middle of the night thinking about this stuff. And you have to understand that's part of the problem. Okay, because that mentally affects you're creating the energy of that thing that you're focused on, and you're going to get more of it all the time. So until you have somebody, tell you that, like you said, it's just people can just offer you all the information in the world, and you won't know how to put it into practice because it starts up here. What you start utilizing, how you start to utilize the information. So that's a huge part of it. Is the internet is full of stuff, and there are lots of people with online programs, but you have to know what information and then you have to know how to use it properly. And so I see that's what I see as a huge problem with a lot of people. They just don't know how to use the information properly, and they don't have, like Kelly said, you don't have someone telling you how you're shooting yourself in the foot and making
Right.
you aware of what you need to do. You know, not just your partner. It's about you're a huge part and part of the problem. So you have to, address that part. It's really important.
Because if you just get tools and you just get information and you're using it and you're implementing it, right? But you don't have any training, you don't have any understanding around how the brain works, how the conscious mind works, how the subconscious mind works, and how the two are supposed to work together to create the reality that you do want.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have an understanding of that, and you're using some tools and you're doing some things and implementing some things that you've learned. If your thought life is still crappy, you're going to continue to create the harmful, destructive dynamics that you've been in for a really long time, because it takes time and it takes learning the skill set that you need to move through the issue and then get to the other side of it. And you have to do the mindset work. You have to know how to do it. Then you have to actually do it. And it's all the time.
Yeah. Right. I think that's the thing, is that people don't realize the importance of the being able, we talked about this with triggers and traumas. You have to be able to change your limiting beliefs. Otherwise, you won't remember the information at the right time anyway. Like you're saying.
At the subconscious level. Yeah.
Exactly.
Or you'll fall back into pattern automatically, not because you want to.
Right.
Because that's your brain is programmed to stay in that dysfunction.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So people think, oh, I have this information, I'll just use that next time. But what they forgot is that because they're focusing their mental energy on the old story, the old narrative, or they haven't changed their limiting beliefs at the subconscious level, they're at high risk of reacting from the old place, going into fight or flight mode, and then not remembering what they learned in the first place.
Right.
Exactly.
So,
and also, if you don't understand about intention, if you don't understand the law of intention,
yeah,
and you don't understand the energy that you're putting out towards your partner, you can be doing all the tools and skills and stuff that you learn, but if your energy that's going out towards that person isn't right,
yeah,
then you're just going to continue to keep on with the same.
Right. And we hear that all the time too. Like when people will say, well, I used my I statement and I said the right words and I said these things, like I checked off my list. But if the energy of intention isn't congruent with that, it's not going to be well received. And
if you're thinking
invisible work, that's the stuff that's not about the tools or information. It's the energy and intention that you bring to it that I think a lot of people miss the importance of that. That is such a good point.
Yeah. And if you're doing the tools and checking it off the list but you're thinking what an asshole, your husband or wife is the whole time still, and you're pissed off at him, I'm sorry, you're not going to get any results. You're just going to continue on the same path that you've been on.
And the unfortunate part of that also is that because they think that the information that they're using doesn't work, they continue to look for more information.
It doesn't work.
About the problem, and they miss the whole point of why you can't implement properly the information that you have in the first place. Okay. And so you're going to keep looking for more information that's not going to serve you.
The answer is not more information.
No, 95% of the time that is true for sure. No. I think what we're saying is what transformation requires is the information plus mindset work, clearing out those limiting beliefs at the subconscious level, setting your intention, recognizing the importance of energy, and then support to stick with it. Day after day, minute by minute, hour by hour, so that you can get support in between those sessions. Oh my goodness, I'm really struggling today. And my mind is going to take me out. I'm going to end up lashing out because though, like you say, those old programs will win. They're a million times more powerful.
And it's crazy.
But it's true.
Yeah, you have to learn to master it, man. And it takes time. It takes time. It's taken us years.
Mm-hmm. And it takes, I think, for the right support, it takes somebody being able to see your blind spot, somebody that you trust, being able to lovingly point out, here's where your blind spots are, here's what you got to try, and here's what you got to let go of. And the other thing that was missing in what we were describing in terms of transformation is to give the right order. It's, you know, depending on where you're at in your specific problem, some information is not going to be as helpful as other information. You have to know what to do first. Like, for example, when I talk about the importance of emotional connection before communication, whereas most people will just find the communication tools and start using those, and all the stuff, the foundation isn't there to even do it, so it doesn't work.
Exactly.
Yeah. So you just
you
have to have the kind of support where somebody can point that out to you and be in the ring with you, cheering you on, course correcting you, just like a coach does. You know, if you were learning a sport and you had a coach and they would have to correct you on your form or your technique or your mindset.
Yeah.
All of that.
Yeah. You need that champion for you, that advocate for you that's going to go, this is what you're doing wrong. This is how you're screwing up. This is what you do to get the results that you want. Now let's go. And you need that person, or else you're just not going to get the results that you're wanting. I mean, we've hired lots of mentors through the years, paid thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars of our money, and spent thousands of hours of our time to learn this stuff and master it. You know what I mean? Like,
we're not taught it in school. We're not taught it in school.
No, we're not taught this.
We have to take the time and the energy and resources to do that.
We don't learn this stuff from our parents, because most of our parents had their own crap when we were growing up. And so, but this is a skill set and you can learn it. It's just, it takes work. Just like, you know, you go to college and you have to study really hard so that you pass your exams. It's the same type of work when you're doing this work. You know what I mean? Just that because we live in a culture that does not value intimacy, it does not value marriage. It doesn't. There's no value placed on any of that.
Right. People want the love, but there's not value placed on that
work that
you could actually carve out a significant amount of your week to work on this, just like you would if you were going to the gym to be healthy.
Exactly.
Investing in the health of your marriage. People just want the marriage to be the foundation and the springboard for everything good in life, without actually, you know, watering the plants, so to speak.
Right.
There you go.
Yeah. So in terms of what I would recommend for you guys, and I'm sure you guys would agree, is that if you're looking for support and you're in crisis, that's our specialty. You can certainly book a call with us at monikahoyt.com/talk. It's just a free call. We can look at what your challenges are, what you've tried, what information, what tools you've used, and why it's not working, and see if we're a good fit to work together. If not, we'll certainly point you in the right direction, and try to get you to the right person who can help you. But no matter